Hello everyone, my name is Marc Wilson and I'm the creative director of the Style Marc, and we're super happy that you're joining us today. Today, we're going to start working and creating terrariums. Terrariums are super easy to make and they're really wonderful gifts for your home or for your friends. So let's get started. So by this time, you guys should have in your design boxes an 8-inch in diameter octagon shaped glass terrarium. Basic opening, which is what the terrariums always have, unless you're doing the full covered ones, which are actually used for, and the terrariums, those style terrariums are for more humidity-based plants. But we're doing succulents today. So some of the succulents that we're going to be using today, the first is Echeveria, and it's a really lovely little tall little guy that grows. Then we're also going to use a standard succulent. This guy is one of my favorites because it comes in many, many varieties and many shades. Some are a little grayer, some are a little greener, and also the sizes of them vary quite drastically. Some of them could be as large as the palm of your hand. This is a really favorite of mine. You also have a jade. Love the jades because I grew up with jades. My grandmother had these in her house when I was a kid, and she used to do cuttings of them and then put them in soil, let them root, and then put them back into a larger container all together, and they would just continue to grow out big. So a favorite of mine. Love you, Gran. So also, which is going to kind of be the center piece of our terrarium, is this variegated little guy here, which is an aloe plant, interestingly enough. And it's just really beautiful. I thought we'd use this because it brings a lot of visual interest to the terrarium that we're going to be making today. Some of the elements that are going to be also used within the terrarium. First, we've got like a cream, a smaller, really like a medium to small cream pebble that goes for the base. You have charcoal, which is an aerated element that is used in terrariums so that when you're watering the terrarium, once you spritz it, the water goes through the plant itself, it goes through the soil, and then it catches itself through the charcoal and then into the rocks. Charcoal also is a purifier, so it allows for any, it kills the smell. If there's too much water in terrarium, it'll kill the smell if anything starts to rot or something like that. Very important element, obviously, is soil. So just a mixture of, this is a cactus and succulent mix that is really great for what we're going to be doing today. And then lastly, we have, which is going to be at the top of our terrarium, once everything is done, we're going to finish it off with these really wonderful little kind of gray-white mini pebbles. That'll bring a nice little color. It'll pop beautifully off the green and the variegation of the different types of succulents that we're using today. And then finally, two other elements that are going to be really important. You're going to have tongs that are in your box. You're also, if you have a little mini teaspoon or even like a sugar spoon, something very small, this will come in really handy today, okay? So this is something, if you have it in your house, pull that out. Let's go ahead and use that. And then finally, when we're all said and done, we have a little antique style spritzer that's going to be in your box. You want to fill this up with water. You won't need to use it a lot, but you will need to use it at the end of this session today. Okay, guys, it's time to get started. So, like I shared with you, so in your box, the first thing you're going to see on your rock package, you're going to see a number 1. So that means this is going to be the first element we're going to use, okay? So you're going to open up the package, and you're going to just do a basic pour. Whoops, first I got to be on the right side of the hole. So do a basic pour. You don't need a lot of the rocks. You can use the entire bag if you want, but just enough to just kind of cover the bottom of it is fine. I'm only going to use like half the bag this time. I've used in previous classes, I've used an entire bag. It's just up to you. But you just want to make sure that the bottom is completely covered in the pebbles, okay? Fantastic. And then secondly, we're going to use the charcoal, the aerated charcoal. I actually like using Hoffman's. It's a really high quality charcoal, horticultural grade. It's really good for aeration and drainage. You can use them on orchid plants, succulents. You can also use them, obviously, on cactus plants and things like that as well. So you only need a very thin layer of this as well, and that should be packet number 2. All right, so you want to open up your packet. Again, I'm just going to do a light thin layer. You don't need a lot of the charcoal. The charcoal is really here for drainage. It purifies and keeps the water clean. There you go. Just do a little bit like that. And also, what the charcoal does, it helps fight bacteria in your terrarium. So, for example, if you did not use this particular element and you watered your terrarium and you overwatered it, the water would just soak and sit into the soil, and then it would not allow it to aerate out and fall to the bottom of the container. And what would end up happening is that your succulents would actually rot, and that's something you really don't want. So you want to keep you really want to use the activated charcoal. It's a really amazing element and really good for you. The third element, obviously, on your list, you're going to see a packet of soil. You're going to actually see 2 of these. So you've got 2 packages of soil. Some of you may only want to use 1 packet. I actually like to use 2. I want a good solid base for the succulents themselves to live in. So I'm going to pour this out, fill this up, make sure it's evenly distributed into your terrarium. Okay, do a little bit like that. You're going to take your tongs or your spoon, if you have it, and you're just going to kind of balance it out, mix it around, just like I'm doing here. Hopefully you guys can see that. And as you can see, you now have actually a layer of the pebbles. You have a layer of the activated charcoal, and you also have a layer of soil. So I actually like a nice base of soil, like I shared with you a second ago. So I'm actually going to put my second package of soil in. Give it a nice home for all the succulents to live in. Okay, a little bit like that. I'm going to just check it and see if I like the amount of soil that I have in here. When it comes to the soil also, we actually like using Hoffman's organic cactus and succulent soil. You can see that I'm a fan of Hoffman's products because it's very high grade. It's all organic. It's a really great natural mix. This one in particular, again, is for the cactus and the succulents. So Hoffman's, you can get this at any of your garden stores, Lowe's, Home Depot, places like that. We buy all of ours, obviously, in the flower market here in New York City on 28th Street. It's kind of our go-to location. Okay, so I'm just going to check this real quick. Check your terrariums and make sure there's enough soil in there. I think I'm going to actually go ahead and add the balance of the soil that I have, and just really fill it up just to make sure that I have a nice solid base of planting material. Okay, and stick that in there. All right, there we go. All right, I'm going to use my spoon again here to kind of evenly spread it out. All right, so I always have to do this because I can never see anything any close up. So please forgive me because I'm taking these glasses and putting them on the top of my bald head, which I always do. So this is actually kind of my look. So we're going to do that. Okay, it's nice and mixed in. All right. So I think the smart thing to do next, now that you've got your pebbles for drainage and your irrigated charcoal also for drainage and purifying the water and keeping it clean and free of bacteria. And you have your soil. So at this point, you're going to pick your succulents. You can pick any of the succulents of the 4 here that we have that's in your crate. But the first thing you're going to do, whichever one you pick, you want to start from the back and build your way forward with these, okay? So I think I'm going to actually start with this little guy here first. And so when you take it out of the container, you want to break up so you can actually see the roots a little bit. You want to break up the soil a little bit so that the roots are kind of exposed. And then this is where it gets tricky. So if you have the big fat man hands like me, it's not as easy to put in, but we're going to do our best for you today. So we're going to put this one, and we're going to move it into the back, and you're going to find the spot where you want it, right? And you're going to pop it in just like this, and don't be afraid to press it down into the soil. Don't be afraid to get your spoon or your tongs, and you're going to kind of play with it and just kind of press it down in there. Be careful not to break or chip off, the succulent, okay? The plant itself, but just give it a little press, just like that. And then we're going to move on to the next one. So as you can see, I've started from the back, and we're going to then build our way forward with these. And there is no right or wrong way for placement in these guys. It's whatever is aesthetically pleasing to you. So I think I'm going to start with the small succulent next for mine. And again, you guys can choose whichever variation or size you want to start with. Just remember, you want to start from the back and build forward. And again, you want to break it up a little bit so that the root system is showing just somewhat. You don't want to break it up completely. You just want to get the roots of the ball loose so that it can fit into the container. I'm going to do like that. Again, don't be afraid to give it a little bit of a press down. It's okay. The soil itself is soft enough so that the succulent itself will sit inside. But you want to make sure that there is enough soil around it to support it, okay? And do a little bit of like that. All right, there's our second one. As you can see, I've kind of just moved to the far left side of mine. And then I think I'm going to actually play with the jade next. Again, same principle as the first two. You want to take it out of the container. You want to break it up so that the root system is showing a little bit. And then you're going to place it. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to change my mind. I think I am going to back up, and I'm going to put the aloe in next. I'm going to do the aloe. So again, you break it up out of the soil, and see the aloe has a much stronger and larger root system than the other 3 that we were just using, the other 2 rather. So, but you want to have a little bit of a root. You don't want to break it all the way off again. You just want to have enough of the ball so that your roots show, so that it can absorb into the soil. I'm going to pop this in here like this. This is a nice big guy. So that's why you really probably are going to need both of the bags of soil, of potting soil, the organic potting soil that you have there. Go ahead and use them both, guys. And if you haven't, go ahead and add that additional potting soil in there so you can use it. All right, and don't be afraid, to give it a little. Find the sides of it and go ahead and pinch it into the soil. It'll be totally fine. Totally fine. Okay, perfect. That's good. All right. All right, it's looking pretty good. All right, so as you can see, we've basically kind of we're starting to create our story right here. See, there you go. It's looking pretty good. And then, so lastly, we're going to add the jade plant in. My grandmother's favorite. And add a little bit of some. If you feel like you need a little soil, some of the soil that you've been breaking off to show the root system of the plants, you can take a little bit of that soil and add it in if you feel like you need just a little bit more. Okay, it's totally fine. It's totally good. I'm gonna do that here. I'm actually really loving this, guys. It's really cute. Super easy to make. Great as a gift for yourself or for friends. Not expensive to do. So now that we've added in all 4 of our plants, as you can see, just really cute, right, guys? I mean, look at that. You got variation in color and scale and different types of succulents and aloe plants and jade plants in here. So now we're gonna actually finish this off, okay? So the 4th and final package you have are the rocks, or your little kind of gray pebbles. You're gonna open your little package up, and really take your spoon or your tongs, and we're gonna start actually from the back and start adding these into the back. And don't be afraid, because you're gonna have to put these into the back of your plants here, and don't be afraid to kind of move them around into it. This is you want to take your time, because this could be a little tedious, but it's worth it, because you want to really fill up the areas around your succulents with these lovely little petals. And if they fall on or into like the jade part of your plant, just take your tongs and just kind of peck out, pop out the little rocks and add them into the areas that you want them. Okay. So again, take your spoon, take your time, and kind of dip in there and kind of get them inside. Again, like with mine here, some of them are falling into the jade or falling on top of the other parts of the succulents, but you can just kind of tap them over, and they'll just kind of pop them down into the soil, and it'll be fine. Okay, so let's just keep going here like this, and making sure that all the rocks get into the pebbles, get into where they need to be. Okay, there we go. And you'll have to move them around. You have to play with it a little bit to make them to kind of cover the entire terrarium. But it's going to be really cool and really nice. You're going to really enjoy having this at your home. Now, also remember, while we're doing this, guys, just remember that this needs to be in full sun. And you might want to know why that needs to be in full sun. One, they are succulents. They do retain water. And for them to grow fully and naturally, they need to be in full sun so that they will grow full. If they're in partial sun or away from the sun, what the plant is going to try to do is it's going to try to fight for the sun, and it'll grow outward and at an angle toward the sunlight. So if the entire terrarium is in full sun, it's much better for it. And the plant itself, as it grows, will grow evenly. Okay, super important little detail there. Really good little detail. So you want to continue to add your pebbles. All right. Add your little rocks. I love this little kind of, it's almost like a little frosty white gray color that these pebbles are. I really actually like it very much. I think it's a nice variation between the kind of ivory cream rock at the base, the charcoal in the center, the soil on top, and then finishing it off with this really lovely little kind of grayish white rock. Yep. All right, there you go. Looking good.
Looking good, guys. Again, I'm going to add in all your rocks. Make sure they're all on all sides of your plant. And don't be afraid to kind of get in there and kind of tap them.
Again, some of the rocks are going to kind of fall into the crevices of the plant itself. And you can just use your tongs again to pull those out.
And it's going to be fantastic. We're almost there. You want to go ahead and utilize
All the rocks in your bag,
because you'll need them all. I actually like making sure that it's completely covered. The areas are completely covered. So I'm going to finish this off here. So bag number 4 is just about done. I'm going to mix it all in here and make sure that our area is sufficiently covered. Okay. Give it a little shake, even it out a little bit. Okay, just like that, and like that. I'm going to go back in and get this little guy, make him a little straighter. And don't be afraid to get in there and kind of move them around if they've adjusted a little bit because of the rocks. All right, so there we are. Okay, so at this point, hopefully, you should have all of your rocks in, and you should have this amazingly fun little cluster of 4 various types of succulents: aloe plants, jade. And what's really cool, one of the things I love, guys, about terrariums is that it tells a little story because it's all glass. You've got the ivory cream rocks here, you've got the charcoal, which you don't really see that much because there's a really nice heavy layer of soil in this one. And then you have the white, kind of silvery white rocks here. So this is what it looks like. Looks really fun, right? So then finally, what we're going to do, you might want to get a little piece of a paper towel or something for later, but you're going to take your little antique spritzer and you're just going to give it a very light, you're going to give it a little light spritz. You don't have to spritz it a lot. You know, just get a little bit, you know, maybe 5 or 6, 7 max, a little spritz in there. And just know, when it's at the window, the way that you know that it needs to be watered is when it's completely and utterly dry, like dry. If it's a little damp, it's totally fine. You do not need to water it. So you want that soil to be very dry, because they like that. They're okay. They retain water, like we shared with you guys earlier in this episode. They retain water within their root system and within their stems themselves. So there's not a lot of watering to do. And that is the terrarium class for today. I hope you enjoyed this class, and I'm glad you joined the Style Marc experience in helping us create for you this terrarium. And we wish you guys a really wonderful day. Thank you for joining us again. Look forward to seeing you at the next class.